figured that some of you people are curious about what Alloverse is and how you can develop for VR without, having to learn all about 3D programming and game dev and Unity and stuff. So Alloverse is a really fast and easy way to get simple and complex UI into VR. So Alloverse is an open platform for collaborative workspaces in 3D, which means it's a place to do work together. So here is the Alloverse desktop app. You can of course run that in VR as well. I'm gonna hop into Nevin's place, which is my own personal realm. Oh, I can hear myself through unnamed here. There's some people in here. Hey, Toby. Hmm. Anyways, oh, there we go. So, wait, why am I hearing myself? Whoever unnamed is having speakers on. It's a bummer. Can I mute this? No, I can't. Oh, it's you.
Also, this resolved my mystery of hearing an echo. I had
Oh, because
something in the
you
background.
are in
Yes,
Alloverse. Yes, that explains it.
closed it now.
You can be in Alloverse, but then you need you need headphones so that it doesn't echo through. Um, cool. All right, so I have Domi and Toby who are also Alloverses on here as well, so that's who you're hearing if you're on here from Twitch. Um, all right, here's a cool space. Let's build an app that'll appear here next to us. So there's this really nice guide that we've written on at docs.alloverse.com where you can write, you just follow this. It's got a bunch of stuff. It explains everything, but most importantly, it's got a getting started guide that you can run through to build your first app. So we're just going to do that together. And then Domi and Toby, as they're running through it with me, they'll ask questions if things come up. So first off, you're going to need a terminal. So let's open up a terminal. I'm going to delete the old demo I did. So if you just started up your terminal, it probably looks something like this. And here you can type commands. Let's make a project in the documents folder. So first we say cd documents, and in here we can create a folder mkdir. Let's follow the guide. It's going to be called allo to do because we're going to make a to-do list app today. I'm going to say mkdir allo to do. Hey Vox, nice seeing you. Okay, it's an empty folder. We're in here now. So we've gone into document, created allo to do, and then gone into allo to do. So you don't have to do this, it's just my shell that is weird. Now we're going to copy paste this command, and what that's going to do is basically create the basic template for an app for you. So I'm going to paste this in, I'm going to press enter, and it's going to ask you, okay, do you want to create this new project allo to do? All you have to do is type Y and enter. It's going to go ahead and get all the dependencies for you, so you can start building your app. And as it's working, I'm gonna check in. If I'm going too fast, Domi, are you getting this? Awesome. Cool. Once all the things that are needed for your AlloApp is downloaded, you can make sure things work by typing /allo/assist. That's the path to the assist script, which does all the heavy lifting for you, and give it the command help. And if it responds with some help for you, then it works. And shout if it isn't working for you, either in the chat or on Discord. So this is a good time to create a commit in Git so that whatever you do next is part of your app and not part of the template. So I'm going see what you can do is, oh, I'm realizing there's a problem here. So what you would usually do, and you don't have to do this. This is just if for future reference, you can do git add dot, then git commit um, first. So that's going to create a commit for all the AlloVerse stuff. So whatever changes you do in here, you can make your own commit later if you're into version tracking your code. Um, so we can open this project up in Visual Studio Code. If you have Visual Studio Code installed with command line tools, you can do code and period. Otherwise, you can just do like file open folder and open up your new Allo to do folder. So let's have a quick look at what's going on in here. So in Allo is just all the stuff that Alloverse needs to get running. You don't need to be in there at all. We got some images where you can put your own like textures and stuff. In Lua, we got the code that we're gonna take a look at in a bit, and then a README because it's nice to tell the world about what you're building. Yeah. So now that this code exists on your computer, we can run it. And we can run this assist script and ask it to connect to Nevin's place. And it'll appear in the space. We can type /allo/assist space run space and then the link to Nevin's place, which is alloplace://nevin.places.alloverse.com. I'm going to open this up and press enter, and there it is. Here's our app. So this tiny little app has one button, and when you click it, it says hello in the console, and that's it. That's all it does. So let's have a quick look at why it does that. So this initial template, it tries to explain exactly what's going on. So when you want to do your own app, you can just look at this and get a rough idea of what's going on. So one of the things it does is it creates a button. I'm going to have to make this bigger so you can read it. It creates a button. It creates it. These are the X, Y, and Z coordinates of it relative to its parent view, which is this white rectangle here. So it creates it slightly, what's that, 5 centimeters. So X is this way, Y is this way. So it's shifted up a bit. And then this is depth, so it's shifted off of the surface so that it doesn't appear like squished into it. And this is the size, so it's 2 decimeters by 2 decimeters by 1 decimeter. And yeah, that's a fun thing we can change to start out. We can just change the size of it. Let's make it 4 decimeters wide. And we stop this with Control C. And that should have disconnected it. Interesting. And then, oh, that was someone else's. Sorry. No, that's not wide. That's high. Okay, cool. So yeah, whoever, I guess that was Domi running it. Sorry, I just quit your to-do app over there. But I moved my own out of the way here. And now the button is really tall. I can make it wide instead. I saved that, Control C out of it, and then run it again, and there it is. There's my white button. So it's working. We can write code. I'm going to get that out of the way so anyone else can experiment as well if you want to. So yeah, we got a bunch of stuff in here. Here's the unactivated. So this is where we can put code that should run when the button is pressed. So that's why it printed hello, but it could do anything like create other things in the world or whatever. This code also creates a quit button, so you can quit the app, which is nice. Otherwise, it's going to be in the place forever, which is annoying. And you tell, and here we can set the app up for what's the main view, what's the main thing it's doing, and that's that flat white surface we were looking at. This is the main view, which then contains everything else. We ask it to connect to the server, and then we ask it to just run forever until we stop it. Okay. Uh, any questions before we move on to making our to-do app? No? Cool. So I just ran through the anatomy of the hello world with you. At least some of it. If you want to read in detail, it's all here on the page. And now we're going to build this app. Look at this beautiful programmer's art. So we want this, we still have this white background, which is nice for resting our 3D components on. Then we want some to-do items with a little checkbox. We can tick it off when it's done. And then we want a button for adding it to do. And when you press that, that should open another little view that we can use to type in what the new thing is going to be called and then add it. Sounds great. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to take out all the template stuff because that's not useful anymore. So I'm going to grab from where we set from the bottom and up, we're going to remove from app.mainView equals mainview. Select that line and go up to this local main view equals. So all the code that sets up the UI we had to begin with, I'm going to take that out. In the initial templates, that's line 20 down to line 55. I'm going to leave a big old space in here. So below Asset Manager Add and above Connect is supposed to be just a blank space. Okay, so I'm going to steal this code block here and I'm going to step it through to explain what's going on here. I'm going to just copy that and then paste it in here in our empty block here. So here we create a class called ToDo'sView, which is a surface like this blank surface here. So it is a surface and then extends it with additional functionality. And when this is the constructor, so this is where we type code that's going to run immediately when we create a new to-dos view. It's going to say that it's movable. We can grab it and move it around the space. It has a quit button just like before, but it now also has an add button, so you can add to-dos, and it's going to set the text for that add button to add to-do. Makes sense? And we're going to add an unactivated callback on it to show a new to-do pop-up when you press the button. This doesn't exist yet, so if you try to run this, it'll crash. So don't try that and don't worry about it. And then we're going to have a list of to-do views. So all the things that we wanted to check off. So these things, break it and fix it, they're going to be in this list later on. And then finally we want to do a layout pass so that all the controls end up in the right space where we want it. So I'm going to type a little bit more code before we break for questions, because it only really makes sense when it's all tied together. So first off, for this to work at all, we're going to need this layout callback. Sorry, this layout function, so that we can put all the controls where they should be. So here we're going to take the bounds. So bounds is basically the size and position of something in the 3D world. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the quit button to the middle of the view and then move it off by about half a meter to the side, just so it ends up in the correct position. And that add button, we're going to move that to the center and then move it down so it's along the bottom edge of the white surface. And then finally, we're going to create one of these main views. We're going to create one of these to-do views and set it as the main view for the app. So if you're following along, by now you should have this block of creating the class and its constructor, which is to-dos view init, down to end, then the layout function with the lines until end, and then the new line which creates this to-dos view. This line also says where in the world it is, so just so that I don't collide with anyone else following along here, I'm going to move it off to the side, maybe 2 meters to the left. And then if you put it, somewhere else, or like the default position, it will we won't have the same app in this in the same location, or two different apps in the same location. So I think at this point it should run. So I'm going to try it. Hey, there it is. So just as we said, we got the quit button, top right, about half a meter to the right and 25 centimeters up. And then the add button is moving down 15 centimeters and then a little bit out so it doesn't, so it's not like in but on the surface. Um, cool. Yeah. So that was a lot. So I'm gonna pause for any questions.
Quick reminder, I guess. Z.
Z?
Z positive, Z negative. Which is which direction?
Oh yeah, that always confuses me. Let's see here. So we got, I think, yeah. So you do this. No, wait, you do. I think you do this. So X is the horizontal. Y is the. Hold on. Positive Y is up. Yes, so this way. Positive Y is up, so Y is vertical. And then Z or Z is depth-wise. And positive Z is towards the user and negative Z is into the world. So if this is right, I should be able to move this. It's now at -2, so if I put it -4, that should put it 4 meters into the world, so this should move back 2 meters. Hey, I know math. Hey, Tane.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey.
welcome. So we're running through this tutorial. So if you want to catch up, you can go over to docs.alloverse.com. And it looks like a lot, but I'm actually just running through it. I mean, it really explains everything in detail, and you can definitely skip parts. Um, so if you want to
Awesome.
catch up, you should be able to just copy paste a bunch of stuff. I mean, you're a seasoned programmer, so I think you should be able to catch up pretty quickly. But do let me know if you have any questions. Domi, are you following along all right?
Tiny bit lost, but it's okay. I'm still listening. And,
Cool.
I'll
Uh,
be okay.
Okay, great. Okay. So yeah, we have an app here. I'm gonna move it back so it's not 2 meters in the world because that's too far away. Here it is. Of course, I mean, a user that's using your app later can put it wherever they want. It doesn't need to be at that hard-coded position we're putting it now. We're just hard-coding a position so it's easy to work with as we're constantly restarting the app as we're doing changes. So where were we? Yeah, so you remember we added this unactivated callback on that button that shows new to do. If I push this button now, that's going to call that function that doesn't exist yet, so it's going to crash. This is what a crash looks like. Don't be scared. At the top it says what's wrong. Error while running your app. Attempt to call method show new to do pop-up and a nil value. So that's because show new to do pop-up doesn't exist. And the rest is just some tracing information if you want to figure out where that came from. So if I remember correctly, the next thing we're going to do is implement that function. Yeah, there we are. I see I have some white space issues in this tutorial that I'm going to fix later. So what we're going to do now is, as usual, we're going to copy this whole block of code and paste it in, and we can paste it in below the layout function. So right here, I'm going to make a bunch of space. So before we set it as main view, we're going to create this new function that shows the new to do pop-up. I'm going to adjust the white space because I can't code with incorrect white space. Okay, here we are. So what's going on here? Um, in this code, it's going to create a pop-up. Yeah, looking at the last line, we can see this is all setting up to open a pop-up near the user's hand. And this function is called with the hand that pressed the button. So we're going to create a new surface, which is one of these blank white surfaces. It's going to contain one of these. It's going to contain a text field, which is a view we use to input text, surprisingly, into AlloApp. So the user can type text on either their physical hardware keyboard or on a virtual keyboard that comes up in VR. It's also going to have, let's see, then we're defining a function called done, which adds the to do and then removes the pop-up, so it is no longer visible. So you add one to do from the pop-up, and if you want to add more to dos, you just open a new pop-up. So when you press return or enter on the keyboard while the input text field is focused, it's going to call this done function. So you can just type something, press enter, and it opens up. Next up, we're going to ask the hand to focus that text field. And what this means is that when the user presses this button, I mean, remember that this is a multi-user app. Many people can be in here in Alloverse at the same time. So I'm going to actually show you what this looks like before I keep stepping through the code, because that will make it a lot clearer if it had worked. Great. Show new to do. Pop up. Why is that nil? Did I not save? I just didn't save. Yeah, that would do it. Saving is important. So when you press add to do, it opens up this pop-up, and you see there's a cursor blinking here, so I can type. And this is my personal, defocus please. This is my personal pop-up, so if multiple people were in here, we could add to-dos, all of us together. By clicking here, that person could have that input field, and I have that one, and we all have our own, yeah, hello. We can all have our own little pop-ups. So that's a really important concept in order to build these multi-user apps, is that you got to think about we want to make sure that the app is usable by multiple people at the same time. And Alloverse does it best to make sure that that's possible, but you also have to think about the UX of your app so that that's possible. Like if we had put an input text field here, like right in the middle of the app, then only one person could have focused it at a time. And then if two people wanted to add to-dos at the same time, they couldn't. So that's why we use this personal little pop-up. Okay, now that you see that what it looks like, we can keep stepping through the code. All right, so yeah, so since multiple people can be using this app at the same time, we don't want all of them to focus the new text field when we create the pop-up. We only want one user to use that pop-up. And we know that because we know who we should ask to focus the text field for, because we got the hand of the user who did it. So if we just ask the hand to focus it, only that person is going to focus the text field. So that's useful. Then we're going to add the add button. That's this thing. That just does the same thing as pressing enter. It just adds the to do. And the cancel button, which just removes the pop-up. So I can just press cancel and the pop-up disappears. Awesome. So we don't have this add to do function. So I think if we press add and type something and press enter, our app will crash because we haven't implemented that yet. Cool. So now we can go implement it. Yeah. Before I do that, I'm going to pause again and see if anybody has any questions. Question in the chat. isn't it better that everyone gets the pop-up to do something? The productivity would go through the roof. Yeah, well, yeah, everybody who presses the button gets the pop-up. You could definitely write code that would force like a pop-up in front of everybody's hands at the same time. That would be really surprising, so please don't do that. It's nice when UI comes when you ask for it and not like surprise you. I get that you made a joke. I made it serious unnecessarily. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Okay. Keep going. Yeah, and here's the rant about multi-user, which is cool. Okay. Right. So we're gonna create to-dos now. And we want like a nice little check mark thingy for that button. You remember, let's scroll up to it. Do this thing here. We want a little check mark graphics for that. So I'm gonna import that. So I'm going to put that into the images folder. So I'm gonna drag that over. And I'm on Linux, so of course that didn't work. Let's put it in, that's in documents, right? Yeah. Whoop, there it is. Now we have a checkmark image in our project in the images folder called checkmark.png. And we're gonna add that to the top of the code so it's loaded when our app starts. In our assets we have the quit and we have the checkmark. Great. Cool, cool, cool. So now we can add and remove to-dos. Again, I'm gonna copy a bunch of code and then explain it. I'm gonna put that again below our previous method, which was show new to-do pop-up, and above app.mainView equals. Paste that in. Fix the white space. I gotta fix this in the guide. Wait, what's going on? That goes there and that goes there. Okay, here's our code. What's going on here? So when the user presses enter, it's going to call self add to do with the inputs labels text. So the input text field has a label which is used to display the text you're typing, and that label has a field called text, which is the string with the text. It's going to send that to add to do. So in add to do we're receiving the text that we want to add to the to-do list. And in the to do is going to be represented by a view. It's going to be placed somewhere. There's going to be a check button, which is the button to remove the to do when we're done with it. It's going to be positioned nicely. It's a lot of layout code. We're going to set the texture for that button with the check mark we loaded before. And when you press the check button, we remove the to do. Great. And we're going to add a label for the text that comes in. It's going to put the text in the UI so you know what the to-do is. And we're going to make that text black, and horizontal alignment is going to be left, and blah, blah, blah. Lots of UI settings to make it look pretty. We're going to add the new to-do view to our to-do views and also add it as a subview. And I have written self-layout here, which I guess means that at some point we're going to write some code to lay out these to-do views correctly. But before we do that, let's run it and see what it looks like. Did I save? No, I didn't. There we go. Add to do. Write code. Enter. Hey! Almost. There's a button there. It doesn't have the texture. I think that might be the bug that Boxer fixed yesterday. They click that button and the to-do disappears. So that's great. Fix code and also talk to the chat. Okay, so they end up on top of each other. And we knew that because we don't have any code to lay out the new to-do views correctly. Let's do that. So I'm gonna steal this code again and replace our old layout function. So I'm gonna select the layout function we had before and replace it with the new one, which basically goes through all the controls in the UI and then moves them to the correct position based on how many to-dos it is. So if you have more to-dos, the view is going to grow. Let's try that out. So now the UI is small because there are no to-dos. Item 1, item 2, hey, item 3, and we're done. Cool. So now we can click the item 2 button and it disappears. So yeah, this is a proper to-do list app now. Yeah, it's actually doing the thing. I don't know why the texture is not working, but other than that, here's our nice little to-do list app, and we can move it around, and multiple users can be in here and use it at the same time. And of course, you can do a lot more complex stuff as well, but this is the start. Yeah, cool. That's our tutorial for getting started writing AlloApps, and now you can do a lot more complex stuff and a lot of fun stuff based on this. So before we finish up, any questions or thoughts? Nice. I'm gonna also add something. So that's getting started with AlloApp development. If you think of any questions later, you can hop onto Discord. Links at our website. Just go to community, and then there'll be a link to go join our Discord. So hop onto the Discord if you have any questions or thoughts. Oh, now it loaded the check marks. Okay, all right, I'll take it. Nice. And thanks for watching.